I'm Rick Jensen. Saturday night, there was no better live coverage of the peaceful protests during the day, and then the violence later on that late afternoon and evening than that you saw at WDEL with Sean Green, who at one point got mugged, had his phone stolen, and I'm going to throw this out there because personally, and I'm not speaking for the news department, I'm not speaking for WDEL, I'm only speaking for myself. I think it's a scandal and an outrage that that reporter Sean Green was brutally punched in the face, had his phone stolen from him, laying on the ground, and a police officer just looked at him. I think Chief Tracy might have been nearby. Sean did not confirm that. And I think Sean deserves some kind of word of at least condolence, perhaps apology, from the chief. Sean's not the only one with a black eye. It's the police department as well for that. Overall, I think the police activity was good, above board. And even handing a megaphone to one of the protest organizers and saying, here, address the crowd. Although, as you heard from a guy named Kevin, who says he was there earlier on my show today, he said he really couldn't hear the guy because all the noise, the chanting and such. Mike Phillips, I mean, both of these guys, from I-95 to Market Street, there was no better coverage live than what you got from WDEL and WDEL Facebook Live. You can count on WDEL. And I highly recommend you download the Forever Radio app, iTunes, Google Play Store. But after Sean's phone was stolen, the reporter Mike Phillips' phone was also stolen. And it was not so violent, but still it was gone. People were looking for reportage and were disappointed unless you found Ivan Thomas of DETV, Public Access TV, Channel 28. And he was there live, or as I like to say, larger than life and live. In fact, one of the funniest parts was he had one of the assistants there, and Ivan Thomas is like, 6'12", and I'm not going to guess the weight because I could never get a job at a carnival doing that. And this other guy is like, I don't know, a little guy like me, like 5'9", maybe pushing 170. And he said, "I'm Ivan's security." It's pretty funny. But there was also a very, very real moment with Ivan. He's on the phone right now, and I want to get to that. Ivan Thomas, thanks for being on, man. How are you?
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate you, bro.
No, I like I said, we were watching you last night, and Ivan, we've known each other for years, and you've always done very high quality work, high quality production, and I think Wilmington is served very well by having you manage and produce programming for Public Access Channel 28. I will tell you this, my wife and I, after we watched Sean Green and Mike Phillips and then their phones were stolen, we were watching you and we saw the devastation on Market Street, the broken glass and all, and there was a moment when you looked at the camera after showing all of this damage and all you said was, "I have no words." At that point, my wife and I just held each other's hand like, oh, my God, Ivan has no words. That doesn't happen.
Right.
So how do you feel about what you saw in your city this weekend?
Me so much. It was watching. I felt so hopeless for that evening until I realized who we are as Wilmingtonians. We will rebuild. We can rebuild. I think this is a perfect time for us to address, a lot of elephants in the room. But that night, It was actually just watching. It felt like you were just being violated, you know. And the city that I'm born and raised in, and the people, the amazing people that I met through my journey of building DETV, from white to black to Hispanic to Asian to Republican to Democrat to Independent, like we're a hodgepodge. We're, like I like to say, a witch's brew of greatness. And to watch someone push over our cauldron, it hurt, you know, because I know a lot of people in the background that are really trying and really implementing change, and to watch businesses, and we're talking about white businesses, black businesses, Asian businesses being pillaged like that. And I'm screaming inside, but nothing would come out.
Yeah. Hey, I gotta ask you a question about your cell phone. We need a much better connection than what we're getting right now.
Okay. Hold on.
Just saying.
Right.
Give you time to move. It might take Ivan because like this is the defensive tackle that you really don't want to engage on the field. If I could just describe you that way. For those of you know, that's a little football analogy, maybe rugby analogy. This is the guy you want in your scrum because he is the anchor and no one gets around the dude. So
right, yeah, you want me on your team.
Yeah, exactly. You want the big guy on the team, exactly. He gets in pickup football games, you know, flag football, whatever. He gets picked first. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
They're like, we take big guy over there.
Exactly. Okay. So getting back to this, you grew up in Wilmington, and I want to ask you a question about the people there. Did you see a lot of people there that you did know?
I saw probably just a couple people that I know. A lot of people, man. What I saw was a lot of out-of-state plates. A lot of people. I saw a lot of white and black people there, and it was crazy how. Now let me get to this. In the beginning, at 11 o'clock, it was a peaceful rally at Rodney Square. I was out there flying a drone, getting a drone shot of it. But what I saw was there was a handful of people trying to get the crowd agitated. You know, the people, and everyone knew those people weren't from around here. And people were saying, like, chill, relax, man. We're not even on that tight time. We're not here for that. And when they marched around the city, you know, that was cool. And then everyone went, you know, they went to I-95 down there, and it was the same thing. It was a couple people trying to agitate the police. It was a couple people trying to just start something. And again, the residents of Wilmington were like, no, we're not here. We're not about that. And then it went down to, I remember the next protest, it went down to the police department. And it was the same thing. Some people in the back was trying to agitate and throwing things. And people were like, yo, chill. We're not here for that. And then later on that evening, that's when it all started. I
talked with Matt Meyer, county executive, about this because, and I will continue to ask whoever I can get a hold of, whether it's the FBI or Homeland Security or Chief Tracy, whoever I'm going to ask these questions, you know, are you following up on the out-of-state license plates? Do you have the video? You do have face recognition software. Are you using that to find these people? And Matt Meyer did say this to me. He said, well, Rick, I know that you believe that the vast majority of those who were violent were from out of state, but I got to tell you, and remember, this comes from a guy who's talking to the police, and they're working these cases. He said there were violent people from Wilmington. It wasn't just out-of-staters, and I could see that, and not only that, I could see wherein you have agitators, provocateurs from out of state who then will feed upon the adrenaline and not fun. They'll feed the adrenaline and the anger that other people have and goad them into whatever violence it is, which is throwing something, breaking a window, stealing things, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was a lot. It was before I got my camera on. I saw it was so funny because I never thought of it until like later on in that evening, and then the next day when people were saying, like, look, there are groups coming to, you know, certain cities and starting stuff. Didn't think of anything of it. I saw this young white guy throw something through the window and just like backed into the crowd, and that was enough. That was the ammunition to start everything, and it was just so crazy. Like, wait a minute, where'd you go? And it was, man. It was devastating to watch, man.
So I'm one of those who suspects. In fact, I would even use the word believe that we have antagonists around this country. A group that is known as Antifa certainly is at the root of a lot of this, trying to encourage anarchy because that's what they want. Why? I don't know. It's just that's what they want. And if they can create anarchy and distrust amongst everybody, then they will achieve their goal of crippling a society and having no order in our society at all. And if they can make it look like it's a bunch of white racists, they're happy with that. If they can make it look like it's a bunch of white folk who want great things for black folk, then they'll do that. Whatever it takes to create this distrust and break down society. And sadly, there are people who are so angry that they fall into this and they join in. Right.
And that's what happened. That's what happened that night. You know, I see around the world, just watching other media sources, I'm seeing around the world, Rick, that a lot of people in the community are noticing the same thing that I noticed, and they're jumping in front of these people like, yo, you're not tearing up our community. And that's a good thing to watch because it's spreading. I see it spreading because now we're more aware of what's happening. We're aware of seeing what's going on, and we're like, hey, you're not from our community. Don't come tear our communities up. You know, don't start the light, throw the lighting fluid on there, the lighter fluid on there. So I see that happening too as well, Rick.
What were your thoughts on what the mayor said? The mayor talked to WDEL News and also talked to you at Community Access. What are your thoughts about what the mayor said?
A lot of people are saying, and you know, it's so easy for people to say, Rick, you should have done this or you should have done that. I talked to the mayor plenty times offline, and the mayor heart is in the right place. He says, you know, he speaks to me and he's like, Ivan, you know, as a white man, I know I need to listen. I'm willing to listen, and my friends need to listen. We're just in a crazy time right now, and even like with the police, a lot of stuff people had something to say about the police department. Why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? And I even questioned that night. Yo, what's taking the police so long? Why aren't they reacting? And just imagine if something was to happen, right? And this could have been one of the Antifa's plan. Get the police riled, get the crowd riled up, now get the police involved. We got tear gas out, we got rubber bullets, and then next thing you know, we got someone else that died from a police shooting. And thank God that night it didn't happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do, and that's the debate. There are people saying, hey, they should have had the water cannons out there and dispersed everybody who was violent.
No, that would have been ugly. Wilmington hasn't seen the worst riot in Wilmington's history is 1968. Just like I know, the National Guard was here for almost a year. Yeah. You know, this was not that riot. This riot was emotional. It was pillaging. It wasn't the riot for Mr. Lloyd. This was a riot with an agenda. You know, and I hate to say the great thing, but the thing that's noticeable about it happened in 74 other cities as well at the exact same time.
Yes. You know, and I want to hear in your words, Ivan. By the way, if you just tuned in, it's Ivan Thomas. He produces and manages programming for Public Access, Channel 28. yes, I'm not yesterday, Saturday. Gosh, it feels like this morning, really. But
Okay.
Saturday, after Sean Green was mugged on the street, his phone taken, and then Mike Phillips, WDEL reporter, had his phone taken. Ivan was pretty much, as far as I'm concerned, you were the only game in town for live reporting on Facebook Live from the streets. And that's why, and Ivan's on because, well, I've also known him for many, many years, and just want to get your take on all this as well. So you mentioned agenda, and your immediate reaction. This as we learn more things. Obviously, our opinions evolve as knowledge evolves as well. But at this moment, when you say agenda, what agenda do you presume is occurring?
So the group is anti-government, right? And if you can use someone else's pain or an opportunity to take advantage of any situation, you can and you will. The agenda, it puts white against black, black against white, people against the community and government. Like if you look at Philadelphia right now, Philadelphia is on total lockdown. Mm-hmm. And what I just got from my sources in Philly is that they're on lockdown for 2 weeks. Don't go outside. Wow. Look at all the devastation in Philadelphia right now. Now if you go to these black and brown communities, right? You got these black and brown communities, and you got people burning the stores, and in these communities are considered food deserts, right? So what are people going to do now to get their food? Where are people going to do to get their lunches and their dinners and whatever they need? Yeah. Now, 75 cities across the world, across the United States, this has happened to. And now let's go down on 7th and Tatnall, those two stores that people rely on. Sure. They're not there no more. Our Sporting Goods in the community for 75 years that might not make it. Now, let's talk about the stores that when COVID-19 came, because that's a huge part of it. COVID-19 came, we go on lockdown from the governor, and now when we're about to reopen, the day before we reopen, they can't open. When I walk through that city, I don't want to say that city, when I walk through my city, I saw that morning, the next morning, Rick, the hurt on the business owners' faces was priceless. It was horrible. You couldn't even say, I know what you feel like. You couldn't even say, it's going to be okay. All you could do is just bow your head and pray and hope and wish and send energy and do everything positive you could do silently. Those people were oh my gosh, Rick, I'm telling you, the Tatnall Street store, I watched them pillage that store, and all I could think about was, what if the residents upstairs, what if they set the store on fire? Mm-hmm. Like it was scary. And it was moving so fast and so slow at the exact same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, no, I do. I think if there's anything we've learned about this when there are peaceful protests again, and there will be, is you're going to have people who are provocateurs coming in from out of state trying to foment the violence, the hate, the distrust, like you and I have been talking about this last half hour. I think there needs to be a concerted effort by the good citizens of Wilmington, the good people who are protesting the police brutality, to actually isolate those individuals and point them out to police and say, here's a troublemaker. This person is through the brick. This person is trying to start trouble. This person, and this way, you can work with Chief Tracy and the police and say, hey, the next time we have a protest, we want to be able to isolate these troublemakers and point them out to you. And please do then come and arrest these people, as we citizens say they're trying to actually make this into something that it isn't. Yeah.
This is a great time now to come up with solutions.
Yeah, it is.
We can have a conversation now because now all the cards are on the table.
Yeah, well, that's why I had Hanifa Shabazz, City Council President, on it with Chris Johnson, 7th District Councilman as well, because they want to see some changes, and whether or not we all agree about these things, you have a platform, I have a platform, and I believe that it should be used for these disagreements and all. Yeah.
One thing that we both have in common, Rick, you're a white man. Right, I'm a black guy, and one thing that we have in common is we love humanity. We love the people around us, and that's the great thing about being who we are. We can disagree about this and that, but now is the time that with our platforms and our amazing reaches, and like what we're doing now is multi-streaming across a bunch of different platforms at the exact same time. We can bring, and DETV, we're working on it right now, of bringing all these people to the table to have the conversation.
We're doing it. And we do the same thing at WDEL. Forgive me, Ivan Thomas, Channel 28, Public Access, DETV. Great points, but I'm going to be late for news if I don't say thank you very much. And we'll talk later, my friend. Take care. Thank you.
All right, you got it, brother.
There's more Rick Jensen coming up on AM 1150 and 1017 FM WDEL.
You know, with this lockdown thing causing meat shortages, my kids could not be happier to skip on Meatloaf Mondays. I'll tell you what's not in short supply. It's the acres and acres of new and pre-owned vehicles at Apple Auto, Mitsubishi, and Elkton. Just the other day, I brought my stimulus check, and they doubled my $1,200 to $2,400 when I purchased a brand new Mitsubishi.